really, really, really bad. May 20th, it's approximately 1:11 p.m. Pacific Coast time. And I tried shooting a video earlier, but for some reason it was cut off. So please crush these algorithms and make sure you share it to everybody you know. I am currently going live across all socials. A massive bond market collapse is about to hit the United States of America. Earlier this morning and over the past 24 hours, the Japanese yen carry trade is unraveling in what appears to be a pig-style nation collapse that I think will be worse than what we saw in 2008 and 09 and 2020 combined. Please let me know that you can hear me, because earlier there was problems with the stream. So even just by liking, that alerts me, and commenting, say, hey, what's up, General? I can hear you. I did a very impassioned warning video that they obviously didn't want out to the American public, so I'm going to review it again. This is so important. I also want to urge you to please follow me on X at AMTV Media. I can put a lot more information there that I can't post here, so make sure you're following me there. And also, I'm getting out a lot of quick hit content and very important articles and things that I am seeing with this unraveling of the Japanese yen carry trade and also the Japanese bond market. This is huge because Japanese officials are warning that this is worse than Greece. And we remember what happened in Greece post 2008 and 09. We pray it doesn't happen again here in the Americas, but there were riots. There was water cannons. It was absolute pandemonium as a result of the Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain sovereign debt interest rates hitting astronomical levels post that 2008-09 period that we saw here in the States. Now listen to this. A lot of you are not following fixed income. Thank you, Ray. The Japanese 30-year government bond has officially gone parabolic. It has surged to its highest level in history at 3.15%, a total parabolic panic. Again, when rates soar, as we're also seeing in the United States on our 30-year, and notably keep an eye on the 10-year, we are now entering what people like Jamie Dimon are calling for, saying that the risks have tripled, a stagflationary collapse here in the United States. What does this mean? It means no growth at all with rising prices. Now, Japan is a very interesting thing to look at because, of course, it had multiple lost decades. And the Japanese equivalent central bank had to institute negative interest rate policies to basically keep things going, otherwise known as NIRP, NIRP. Why the Japanese yen carry trade is so important is because Wall Street, you know, the criminals, everyone on Wall Street that just trades paper back and forth and bailed themselves out in 2009, that offer no value to our society at all, zero, like literally nothing. They are borrowing and have been doing this for years, decades, cheap yen. They take that cheap yen at low interest rates and invest it into our markets here in the States and other markets. And that spread is their profit. If you're borrowing, for example, at 2%, but you can make 5%, you're netting 3%. And so essentially that's what the Japanese yen carry trade is. We are entering what I believe will be the equivalent of a nuclear bomb going off in the US financial system soon. This will affect not just the fixed income infrastructure here in the States, but it will also hit the westernized world at large. And I honestly fear, as I've been warning to you yesterday and over the last few days, I'm not the only one saying this, by the way. I mentioned to you friend Ray Dalio saying that you're grossly underestimating what's really happening here right now at the central bank level. We had a major announcement earlier this morning, and I was actually really losing my cool, which is probably why that first video, I don't know why. It said that I produced 20 minutes, but you were only able to see one. I have no idea why. But there was a major breaking Moody's downgrade of all the largest financial banks here in the United States earlier this morning. This means Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and others just had their deposits and the safety of your deposits at U.S. financial institutions downgraded into AAA trash. Now, keep in mind that the U.S. sovereign debt has already been downgraded. Moody's was the last of the 3 large ratings agencies to finally admit that the U.S. dollar is worthless, that it's backed by nothing, that they print it into infinity. And by the way, this is a problem that continues no matter who is president. I'm looking at a chart right now, which you can find on my X account at AMTV Media, where it shows the national debt increasing drastically since 1981 under every single president, no matter their political party or political affiliation. Now, of course, I like Trump a lot. I don't like Biden. But if you actually study how much money was printed at the central bank under both presidencies, the previous ones, enormous. I think we went from 8 trillion under Trump to 6 trillion under Biden. Now, it's not even really the president's fault because, again, it's the central bank. The central bank is a private, for-profit entity that nobody votes for, that does whatever it wants, for profit, backed by nothing, printing currency from nothing ever since we went off the gold standard. And so the debts have exploded. This is something that Doggy, of course, Department of Government Efficiency, has been attempting to try to solve. While at the same time growth stalls and inflation skyrockets. And this is what Jamie Dimon was warning you about yesterday. By the way, he's finally allowing his high net worth clients, private equity, massive hedge funds, the high net worth families, the big families, get into Bitcoin. That's a huge shift because keep in mind, and they all know what's going to happen next. Like, look at Warren Buffett, for example. I told you that his exit is indicative of a Great Depression that's about to hit the United States of America. I'm going to give you the details on all of that here in a second. If you look at Warren Buffett's investments, he's been selling Bank of America stock in droves, selling Apple computers. He's sitting on mountains of cash. Why? Because of what I'm telling you now. All the financial insiders, all the elites, all of Washington that's been insider trading and has been doing that since day one. Remember in 2020, all the Congress officials, congressmen and women, Nancy Pelosi and everyone, they were selling their stocks before the announcement of the lockdown. That's insider racketeering. And they're doing the same thing now, and you need to save yourself. I'm expecting a massive financial panic to hit the United States soon as the international financial fixed income markets implode. Again, if you're just tuning in, the Japanese 30-year has risen to its highest level historically on record. This is a canary in the debt bond market coal mine, which signals collapse in the United States of America. And I'm going to get to what is going to happen next and why this is happening. And I've said this for years. Again, many of you are just tuning in. I have a lot of new subscribers. So just a refresher, if you're new, welcome to the channel. My name is Christopher Greene. I started AMTV in 2008 and 2009. I used to be a Wall Street guy. I worked for Merrill Lynch. And then in 2008-09, when I saw the grotesque nature of the bailouts and how the criminal elite ripped off the average American, you tuning in, and destroyed many of your lives, I actually went rogue and started making YouTube videos and all kinds of social media content showing the truth of what had happened. And then our channel blew up and we've reached, billions of views. I'm also a Bitcoin crypto expert. I've traveled the entire world. I've been recommending Bitcoin since under 1,000. And of course, I'm also the creator, founder, and inventor of islandproject.com, the first no bank debt real estate portfolio, diversified, that owns beach, ocean, luxury properties around the world, soon to be tokenized, which includes true equity ownership of all capital gains, future income distributions, some use as a lifestyle investment in addition to our 1000X token launch. See our terms, contact my father, and let us know how we can help at 808-442-2934. For those of you that don't know, a lot of new people here. We just crushed 85K on X. Thank you so much. So all the major US financial institutions, all the banks, and I want you to think about this, if you've studied the FDIC, it's bankrupt. So all that faith and trust that's supposed to be backed by the FDIC that's insolvent, which hasn't even raised its limit, its backing of 250K since 08 and 09. Like with the inflation, the hyperinflation in America turning into Zimbabwe, you would think that the FDIC would have already bumped to at least $1 million. I mean, you can't even buy a starter home in some American cities for less than 1 million buckaroos. So think about this for a minute. FDIC's insolvent, I have to say, in my opinion, at 250K, has failed to raise to $1 million. And now, at the same time, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the list goes on and on, are all downgraded by the ratings agencies here in the United States, which even that whole system is rigged, and they've been covering up the true nature of the insolvency, just like they covered up 08 and 09. This is massive. So this is what I believe is going to happen next, as this triggers a wave and cascading effect like dominoes of defaults. We're going to have bank runs in the United States, more of them. Not happening for the first time, more of them. You do understand in 2008 and 09, congressmen were warning of martial law. Every single financial institution in the United States was going to zero. That's how they claimed that they needed these bailouts for the billionaires, right? Jamie Dimon needed a bailout. So did Warren Buffett, right? He needed a bailout in his Goldman Sachs stock. He needed a bailout in the insolvent American Express, which was going to zero. Bank of America needed a bailout, right? You remember that. Now, we have had major financial institutions collapse recently, like Credit Suisse and others, Silvergate, Silicon Valley, that I also predicted. So that's only the start of this cascading wave of defaults and bankruptcies. Understand, too, there's a long history of this. I mean, with Warren Buffett, if you go back into his early investment years, Salomon Brothers, which he was like the largest investor, that company committed criminal fraud in the bond market. Literally, go look this up and research it. I'm a Wall Street guy. Salomon Brothers, Warren Buffett's company, committed criminal fraud in the fixed income bond debt markets, like we're explaining today. And the only reason that company was saved is because of politics. It was actually the first too big to fail event. There was like 2,000 jobs at stake. And so then instead of punishing Salomon Brothers, they just let it slide, gave them more money, and propped them up into the rigged system. And that's exactly what's been happening since 2008 and 09. These zombie banks are more systemically at risk of implosion than they ever have been in world history. This means, just like Moody's has downgraded the deposit structure at all the U.S. financial institutions, that your money is not safe in a U.S. bank. You need to get your money out. But here's the point that I think the public doesn't understand. A lot of the public doesn't understand that you were set up, that this is their actual agenda, that they want this to happen. This is literally the master plan. They've done everything from 2020 all the way back to 2001 in that event, and even before that, to lead you here to this exact moment for the reset. I was calling it a reset long before they came up with this idea that we were going to have a reset. And so this is a very specific setup to transfer the American people and the world at large into a brand new system. As I've said for a long time now, this will be an upgradable stablecoin technology system. It'll be a USD 2.0. They are moving major acts and bills through Congress as we speak. One of them is the Genius Act. There's more like it. Because the elites that hate you know that they can never planned on it. They're drunkards. They never planned on paying back the debt. I've told you this for decades, that what they would do is set you up for another Ponzi scheme bubble collapse, which you're going to pay for. Americans are going to be destroyed. The middle class is going to be no longer. And they're going to reset the system, break the rules again, and set you straight into the new one and the new USD equivalent. Now, what's terrible about this is, and they have this all planned out, they're creating a feudal system now, a two-tiered society of super elites, the same hedge funds trading back and forth, synthetic derivatives, multi-quadrillion products, mortgage-backed securities like in 2008-09 that caused that depression at that time in 08 and 09. They're doing the same thing now, but even worse. And it's all financed. Every last fake penny is financed by the yen carry trade. You need to understand the implications at hand on the world stage. Absolutely massive. Now, I also shared with you yesterday that as this plays out, and I think, so what's going to happen next, you're going to see Bitcoin, crypto, you're going to see AI investments, which are going to absorb some of this as well. All of that is going to soar. I mean, even Bitcoin's trading at 107K. It's going to be trading at 200 to 300K, literally could be in the next few days. Panic is coming out from these unlimited hyperinflationary assets and going into fixed assets, real estate, land, gold, silver. It's going into Bitcoin, which has a very fixed, limited supply. I also want you to understand why the banks are at risk, because their encryption sucks compared to Bitcoin and other technologies like it. For example, most Americans' bank accounts and 401ks are only protected by a simple password. I want you to think about this for a minute. There might be some other layers of encryption, but there's not much. A password logs you in. Bitcoin is an unhackable, unshakable, highly developed technology created by Satoshi. Some believe him to be a man, some believe it to be a consortium, which is what I believe and have shared with you actually who Satoshi is in the past at my private schools. Some things I can't share publicly, by the way. And money, especially in Asia, but now the Americas, is flocking into the only safety it can find. Fixed, stable value, gold equivalent, gold standard investments that have limited supply that rocket in inflationary environments as fiat currencies in the global economy collapses. Again, this is a nuclear time bomb going off, a weapon of sorts in the financial system. We also got some huge news earlier today as well. Trump's making some major moves. So we're seeing that. Diamond warning again not to underestimate the risks of what is about to happen next. And you're seeing mortgage rates rise above 7%. By the way, all the activity in housing is mostly cash deals. Average American can't afford anything anymore. That's how the elites want it. I told you for years, it's an affordability, hyperinflationary, stagflationary crisis. Their goal is to break the system and rip off the middle class again, just like they did in 2008-09, just like you were non-essential in 2020. And then right before the outbreak of, God forbid, pray against it, riots, what they do next is usher in the safety social net of universal basic income, which really is just universal peasantry income. It is universal nothingness. And guess how the universal basic income will be paid? With their new currency. With a highly trackable, highly surveilled, prohibited currency governed under an all-seeing eye by these entities like the central bank that may, for the love of God, even prohibit certain transactions, might even cut you off completely if they don't like your politics. Maybe there's a Democrat in charge and they don't like Republicans, or there's a Republican in charge and they don't like a Democrat. Highly censorable, trackable, completely surveilled as they get rid of all cash and equivalents in their pre-planned setup. Of course, AI and everything that was introduced right after 2020, which they had all that technology before, but they only released it then. They are relying on that to absorb a lot of the fallout, so to speak. For example, I was reading JP Morgan Chase is cutting another 10% of all of its workforce worldwide because AI is replacing those jobs. So AI and robotics are being rolled out as a replacement mechanism to hopefully absorb as much as it can of the new society that they're building. I pray this video actually is working. The other one didn't work, and honestly, I can't replicate it, so I apologize about that, because everything I do is off the cuff. I'm just talking out of, from my complete heart and sharing knowledge with you. So I pray that this is out there and pray that you're sharing. But I want you to understand, this is the trigger event. The yen carry trade has imploded. Wall Street is now going to send the American people into a hyperinflationary, up-only blockchain reset collapse, sending Bitcoin, crypto, and real assets like the Island Project to new all-time highs. The biggest transfer of wealth you've ever seen. They're going to blow a massive bubble, a huge freaking crisis, worse than anything that you've ever seen in history. Then it's going to pop. They have everything ready and set up for the takeover. AI, robots, universal basic peasantry income, a kind of a socialism that they're going to, bring into the United States. And it's very similar, if you're a history buff, as I am, and you love geopolitics and finance and all of this stuff. Go research the USSR when it collapsed. These things happen suddenly. Suddenly, ladies and gentlemen. Also, I mentioned in the other video, so I'm remembering it now. Thank God, praise the Lord that I can remember this, because this is also creating a very disruptive, fractured environment on the mainland United States. For example, the credit ratings of Texas, the great state of Texas, 1776, hoorah, Florida, and North Carolina, just to use 3 examples, now have a better credit rating than the U.S. sovereign debt country does, the trash fiat dollar backed by nothing. As the wealth divide gets larger and larger, this creates a huge civil disorder problem. We already fought one civil war. This is not good for your society at all. This is not good for America. This creates divisions. This creates heartache. This creates massive wealth destruction for the lower tier of the American citizenry and other countries like it around the world, and extorts and extracts all the wealth to very, very few people. On Wall Street, those that have political power and influence, like the Buffetts of the world, I mean, again, many of his companies would be at zero if it wasn't for all of his bailouts and cronyism. This goes back way before 2008 and 09, by the way. People like Jamie Dimon, a billionaire now. You know he only became a billionaire after the bailouts? Your taxpayer dollars made Jamie Dimon a billionaire. Otherwise, all of his stock options were going to zero in 2008-09. So what it does, this crony, in my opinion, criminal capitalism, fake capitalism, really an oligarchy of socialist, now new technological dystopia, which they're entering and reining everyone into, is going to create a fracture in our society that is, in my view, very, very dangerous. We already have secessionist movements brewing in the great states of Texas, for example, parts of California that want to split off. This is a trend that is going to be ignited, especially as things get worse for the average individual that can't afford anything. It's an affordability crisis. You will own nothing and be happy because you can't afford it. Do you understand? So massive warning, this is terrible news. It's very, very bad. You need to get your money out of the banks now. You need to put your money into things that are safe. You need private economies. You need to get into real assets. Click the link below, visit us at islandproject.com. Talk to my dad about onboarding today. See if we can help. If we can't, we'll let you know. My dad will be the first to tell you it's not right for you. You need to be getting into physical assets. You want to own gold. You want to own silver. Your skill sets are very important. Self-defense. But I'm telling you straight up, we are entering a Great Depression 2.0. Stagflationary collapse, blockchain up only, Bitcoin to infinity, middle class hammered, destroyed, and all the wealth transfers to the least. This is why BlackRock has been buying Bitcoin in droves. This is why Vanguard and State Street, another racketeering organization, in my opinion, I have to say, they get all their money for free at the central bank. They borrow at zero, for crying out loud, charge you 30% APY in your credit cards. What a freaking scam that is, man. They own 90% of Wall Street. They own all of these companies. They own the entire S&P 500 because it's rigged. And you need to understand, so is this reset. I get really passionate, and I'm glad I was able to deliver this in a calm way, but I hope I'm doing it justice because this is a very, very serious warning. I made a prediction in 2008 when I told all my clients to go to cash and to get out of the banks right when Bear Stearns collapsed. That was the same moment Jim Cramer told you to go all in Bear Stearns before it collapsed to zero. Same scumbag still working on CNBC. And I'm telling you now, this will be even bigger. There's a reason why I've been telling you to buy Bitcoin for going on like 15 years now. There's a reason why we developed organized our portfolio here at the Digital Noah's Ark. We own real estate all over the world with no bank debt. You do understand that, right? We're out of the banks. The banks can go to zero. It doesn't matter. Hyperinflation continues. All the wealth is pouring into assets that people can control, that have utility, right? During fiat destruction and implosion, which always starts in the bond market with yields. It's always in fixed income. Japan is a warning shot across the bow of a cascading debt collapse in the United States of America. I'm your General Greene. I love you so much. God bless you. Jesus Christ is King. I pray that this video gets shared. I pray that you can actually see it. My other video was really impassioned. I was ranting and stuff too. And it's probably why you weren't allowed to see it. But I always keep trying. And so here I am again because I care about you guys. I don't want you to get hammered by what's about to happen. I don't want you to lose your 401ks and your retirement accounts. I really, truly love you. And you will if you stay in the banks. Hyperinflation is here. Everything has skyrocketed since 2020. Inside job. It was the plan. They're doing it on purpose. They freaking hate you. They're going to set you up with UBI next. It's going to be a disgusting feudal system. It is going to be a surveillance state beyond proportion, which is why we have built something with true sovereignty, true liberty, true freedom, God first, faith first individuals, together, an army of sorts, a peaceful army that's fighting back and equipping all of our members with the tools that they need, not just to play defense, but to get on offense. My members are rich. I hope you understand that. Anyone that's taken my advice in Bitcoin is rich. If you do what I'm doing now, I can't predict future returns, not a financial advisor, but you're going to be doing 1,000x light years better than every single other person you know. You need to be panicking out of the US banks now. Links below and up here. Call my dad, 808-442-2934. He's very busy. Fill out an app at islandproject.com, 150 unit minimum. God bless.